And I want to show the people how systematic you are with your lies. And let's hear the clip on regularization in 12 months.
Congress commits to regularizing the status of contract workers who are working for the government and Imani workers who are working for the government within 12 months of assuming office.
Folks, the guy, there's a pattern. The guy is a narcissist. Yes, Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell is a narcissist. He's a pathological liar. So you just heard him say he's going to regularize all public workers in 12 months. Listen to this clip.
We never said we would regularize the public service in 12 months. We said we would regularize it. And we have begun to do so. And
he said they never said that. He said it among others. But he's saying, and you heard him there, saying that he never said it, and you heard him before. Okay, we're moving along. He spoke of regularization at the stroke of a pen.
In that position. Right. And I'm saying the job of the citizens, of the government, is to fight for its citizens, to protect its citizens, to encourage its citizens to be independent, not dependent, not vulnerable. So that is the challenge we face. And I'm saying it is solvable by the stroke of a pen.
Yep.
And let me make this further point. It is actually illegal. The Employment Act clearly says that you cannot put someone on a fixed-term contract, meaning these short-term contracts, when the position they are filling is an indefinite one. So the government itself is...
Now, this government was breaking the law, the previous government, and this one, according to him, is still breaking the law. He said all of that can be fixed by the stroke of a pen. Hear him now.
When people want to make mischief, they're going around and saying, you say a stroke a pen, you can regularize everybody, stroke a pen, regularize everybody. I never said that. I said there should be one public service. And I will say it again, there should be one public service.
They're all on the same substance. Whatever. Excuse me, but whatever he taking, Kiri taking, they're the same thing. And the man said it plain ever. He never say that. And they're going around saying when they want to make mischief. Yeah. In the Parliament of Grenada, that thing is in the Hansard, In the Parliament of Grenada. Right? Right. So we figured him there, he lying. He lie. And you hear him there. What he said was one public service. We regularization to make one public service. And he's going to say it again, he repeat it. Well, where is it? Where is the regularization to make one public service? What happened? He come as a crybaby telling us why it can't happen. Even though the former Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Mitchell, had said to them on several occasions why it was not feasible, why it's not sustainable to regularize the entire public service. That's what he said. He said, but that's what we spoke of. We never said we can fix it by the stroke of a pen. Well, hear him now.
The regularization is focused on the several hundreds, if not thousands, of other persons who do not have those things. And the point that I think P.S. Marshall was making is that in order to treat with that, we simply cannot take all of them and make them established public servants for the simple reason that it will bankrupt the government. It will not be sustainable. So the discussion, the partnership, the compromise has to essentially be how we improve the terms and conditions of these persons' employment as close as possible to that of established workers in a manner that is sustainable. And that involves a number of things. How we agree on a pension formula for them, for example. How we agree on the vacation, etc., etc., etc. So that is what the process.
Did he say not sustainable? Did he say it would bankrupt the government? And so they can't do that. They can't regularize all public servants. And so they come up with a susu plan that they never told you guys about when they were campaigning, right? Never mentioned it. They didn't know, or they knew and ignored it because they wanted the votes. The point is, they were warned. They were warned. We're moving along. We're going systematic. This is a systematic way of lying, right? ACP Vanny Cohen and the former COP, who is now head of security for the government of Grenada, Mr. William Thompson, escorted Minister Lacrette off the premises the day he was fired. They were waiting for him outside the cabinet room. I told you guys of it when it was done, the same time when I brought the breaking news to you guys. Recently, in a sit-down interview, Mr. Lacrette agreed that it happened. He explained how it happened. He confirmed that it happened, right? Let's hear how Senator Lacrette, Mr. Lacrette, let's hear what he had to say, how it happened.
Were you escorted by security forces at the ministerial cabinet? The size of the ministerial
security officers.
security officers. Security. I said security places.
Yeah, you're making it sound like a drug raid, you know that. Security officers. Yes, when I exited the cabinet, in fact, before I exited the cabinet and my hand touched the doorknob of the cabinet, I remember the Honorable Prime Minister saying, Mr. Lacrette, I recognize that there is some confusion on your face as to why I did.
As I was leaving.
That was as I was leaving. I recognize that there is some confusion on your face as to why I did what I did this morning. If you would like an explanation, you can set an appointment with my administrative assistant, executive secretary, and that's Ms. Leslie, and we can meet after the cabinet today if you are available. I said to him, thank you very much, Prime Minister, for the accommodation. And when I exited the cabinet, I recognized that two officers were sitting outside of the cabinet. Actually, they were sitting on the couch. I greeted them, and while I walked out of the second door and headed towards the elevator, I recognized that the elevator went down to the first floor, and I decided I was not going to wait. So while standing in front of the elevator, they came on either side of me, one on the left, one on the right, and I motioned to them to ask them if everything is okay. And they said, oh, yes, Minister, all is well. We were just instructed to escort you. Well, yes, we were just instructed to escort you down to your office. And I said, okay, no problem. And they escorted me down to the third floor. I went into my office. I was not allowed to touch anything that was government owned. I was only allowed to take that which belonged to me, which I did. I was asked to hand over the government phone immediately, and I motioned to the National Security Advisor that I have some contacts on the phone that I would like to transfer. If I'm exiting office, I would like to keep these contacts because they're important. He gave me the opportunity to do so, and took back the phone. I exited, and they escorted me down to the first floor. And Officer Cohen took me to my vehicle and ensured that I left the compound driving off. I did message the Prime Minister when I got into my vehicle after I drove off to request a time that is best suited for him so that we can have the meeting the afternoon once he's available, because I was expressing my availability at the time. But between the time, because cabinet started at 10, so between 10:15 and around 2:30, I recognized that the Prime Minister's office had put out a release that they were going to have a press conference on Thursday, the 1st of July, the day after the firing. And part of the dialogue of that press conference was to inform the nation as to why I had to exit the cabinet of Grenada. And I felt that if you're going to explain to the nation why, and not give me an explanation. It's sort of like putting the cart before the horse. So Prime Minister called just around the 3:30 Minister for time frame, because we had set up a time, and he messaged me via WhatsApp. And I said to him, Prime Minister, I recognize that there is a press conference that is due for tomorrow. And part of the press conference is to speak about or to inform the nation as it relates to why I had to exit the cabinet of Grenada, or you had to fire me. And I said to him, I rather wait for the conclusion of the press conference. Yes, I believe it was my right to do so at that particular point in time. And then he said to me, no, he really wants to be able to speak before the press conference. And I said, respectfully, Prime Minister, I rather wait for the conclusion of the press conference, because I would like to hear why it is you did what you did.
So you've heard Mr. Lacrette explain how he was escorted from the cabinet, once he got outside the cabinet room, down to his office, from his office to his vehicle, and they watched him leave the complex, right? He was fired. You gotta go. Okay. The Prime Minister was questioned on that. Here's what he had to say.
Good morning to the Honorable Prime Minister and the other members of the head table and the listening public. There are reports that Mr. Lacrette was escorted out of the complex by security forces. Can you confirm and explain? If so, can you explain the need or the rationale behind that move?
Well, I have no knowledge of that, so I can't confirm or deny, and I'd be surprised that can even take place. As I indicated earlier, let me repeat. I would have communicated to Minister Lacrette my decision in the presence of cabinet colleagues in the cabinet room. Minister Lacrette would have obviously then excused himself from the cabinet room. I remained in the cabinet room, so to my colleagues. So I'm not in a position to speak to anything that would have happened outside of that. I subsequently communicated with Minister Lacrette by messages. Subsequently, he did not raise with me any of those issues, and well, I can't presume, but I would have thought that if something like that happened, that it would have been raised. So I'm not aware of that.
So he said he had no idea that took place, and if it did, he's surprised that it took place. Now, you might remember that Mr. Lacrette said when the Prime Minister came into the cabinet room that morning, he said this meeting is about Mr. Lacrette, Minister Jonathan Lacrette, that he had asked the Governor General at 8 o'clock that morning to revoke his ministerial and senatorial appointments, right? So the only person he spoke to that morning was the Governor General. And then he came to the cabinet to fire him in front of the cabinet members and the National Executive Council of the NDC. Who directed Fanny Cohen and Mr. William Thompson to wait outside the cabinet office, the cabinet room, and escort Mr. Lacrette to his office, make sure he doesn't touch anything that doesn't belong to him, and then escort him to his vehicle and watch him leave the complex? Who did it? How did they know that they were going to be, that Mr. Lacrette was going to be fired, and that he was should be escorted to his office and then to his vehicle? How did they know that? Magic? Lies, and more lies. It's like he can't help himself. But everything does just unfold before us after he lies. Sometimes before he lies, but he forgets. He seemed to forget that what he said before. So we have a little dementia thing going on there as well. You forget that you said that. Then you come and say you never said that. And it's out there for the world to see that, yes, you said it. And you're surprised that Mr. Lacrette was escorted. I mean, how blatant. How blatant. And then, of course, we could go back to early days when he just came in, bragger and full of himself, ego bigger than the world. You know, and speaking about the air transportation throughout the Caribbean. And if they continue so, if it continue like that, he'll just purchase 2 planes. Let's hear him.
As far as I'm concerned, if by October, November, we don't have an arrangement where us as leaders in the OECS are prepared to do that, then it means Grenada has to go and lease 2 planes so that we can fly between Grenada and Barbados, Grenada and Trinidad. We will have to do so.
So we just purchased 2 planes and we could fly through Trinidad and Barbados. Okay. Let's hear it come back.
It requires cooperation from all the region because you can't just fly between Grenada and Carriacou. You have to fly Barbados, St. Vincent, so you need all of the islands to take part. You need all of the islands to be prepared to give the airline operator the rights to fly into their country. And if you don't have those things in place, air travel isn't going to come down. But it requires regional cooperation. It's not something that an individual island can do alone. Even if we bought a plane, we need the rights to travel into other islands, right? And we don't have enough traffic. 100,000 people, we simply don't have enough traffic to maintain a commercial airline that just carries people.
Okay. So who he vexed with? Who he telling that we don't have enough people and you have to get everybody on board and everything and we can't just fly plane to? You come and tell us you're purchasing 2 planes. So who you vexed with? Who you quarreling with? You didn't do your homework because you big and you large and you everything. You hear foolishness? That's foolishness. Because you didn't do your work, your homework. You didn't find out, you didn't investigate. You have no idea what you're talking about, but you're purchasing 2 planes. And now you come telling us that you can't purchase, you can't just purchase 2 planes. You have to get the okay, you have to get the authorization to fly the plane. My grandson must be know that you have to get authorization and you can't just go fly the plane throughout the Caribbean. And worse yet, that you have to, the other islands have to come in and la da, right? You hear foolishness coming from a fool's mouth. Foolishness. So who foolish now? That you have to come now and twirl and thing and you that tell us that.